All right, my friends, welcome back to another episode of Boozin on a Budget right here on Titan TV. Tonight, I'm incredibly excited to welcome a guest to the show, a friend of mine who I grew up with who has 23 years in the adult beverage industry. His name is William Stanley. We had quite the conversation, so let's get right to it. All right, guys, welcome to my guest segment. I'm welcoming William Stanley to the show. I grew up with William in my small town. We're going to talk some beer stuff, but dude, tell them like how many years experience you have, what your current title is, what distributor you work for, and, just let us know who you is.
All right. Well, this will be my 23rd year in the business. And I started at Crown Beverages, just merchandising, stocking shelves, stuff like that, kind of worked my way up, cleaning draft lines before that. And then I worked there for 17 years. I did everything up from merchandising, loading trucks, delivery, managing the draft department, and then going into sales, and then leaving there in 2017 and going to Breakthrough Beverage as their senior draft tech for about a year, and then got promoted to craft beer specialist and went to work for Seismic Brewing Company after that for about 2 years, and then came back here, had a chance to move to Elko, Nevada, and this will be it for me. I'll retire up here.
So, nice.
Yep. Yeah.
You're like the first person that made me understand like how important it was for bars to keep their draft lines clean and how much it could affect like their beer and the taste and just the way that I watch Bar Rescue all the time, this show that I'm obsessed with, and like, dude, people do not clean their shit.
No, it's a very important part of, especially like, you only got one shot with your customer, right? Like, and they come in and taste the beer, you're doing a disservice to some of these distributors and stuff like that are poor at, holding their people accountable, and not, making them do their job. Getting them to do that can really, do the supplier the disservice, the brewery and, stuff like that, and people aren't going to come back to a restaurant if they tasted a beer that tastes like ass. So
yeah, you can tell too. It's like flat or it's off,
right?
Or
if it gets to the point of diacetyl, it's called a diacetyl. It's a bacterial infection that happens in the beer lines, and it literally can make your beer taste like popcorn. Like you get a popcorn taste out of it. I've only had it happen like a couple of times, and that was because of a brewery we had at Crown back in the day. It's no longer in existence. It was called Buckbean. They were just really bad about cleaning their kegs and stuff as well. Like you've got to, make sure that, when you're brewing beer that your systems at the brewery are up to par as well. You're cleaning them constantly. That's why you walk into a brewery and you see wet like water all the time, because they're constantly cleaning their tanks out and stuff like that, keeping the bacteria at bay, So because you get an infection in your brewery, it takes a while to get it out, and you're dumping thousands of dollars down the drain.
Right. So like last time when we talked and we didn't have good reception and stuff, we were talking about, I think, where the craft scene kind of started. And we had kind of indicated or identified, obviously Sierra Nevada Pale Ale was one of the first ones around. I think Fat Tire started like opening people's eyes a little bit too. Do you remember?
Yeah, you had the Mendocino brewing companies like Red Tail, Eye of the Hawk. I mean, there's some great craft beers. Obviously Mendocino Brewing Company's not around anymore, but dude, some of the breweries that were, started, Deschutes is another one. Like if you go by timelines, like some of these breweries started, like Sierra Nevada started in early 80s. I don't know the exact year, but it started early 80s. And we used to have a picture at Crown where the owner, Ken Grossman, delivering the first shipment of Sierra Nevada Pale Ale to Crown Beverage, and I think it was like 85 or 86, something like that. You know what I mean? And, it just kind of, gained momentum, and after that, just going forward. So craft beer, I mean, honestly started in the early to mid 80s, with some of these, Anchor Steam, that beer's been around forever.
Right. I did read that.
Yeah. Some of the stuff they do, like their Christmas ale is like my favorite beer, to drink around Christmas time.
Right.
It comes out, it's a very limited quantity that comes out, but it's always solid, man. So
yeah, I like Anchor Steam a lot. I haven't had an Anchor Steam in a while.
Yeah, I was walking in a grocery store the other day and I'm just kind of reminiscing a little bit about kind of like Sierra Nevada, like, dude, the Green Machine is, it's been around forever, and it's held its own in the set, you know what I mean? Like in a grocery store, like it's gotten bigger. Their innovation, they had a little bit of a lull in their innovation. They had some pretty bad stuff, probably around 2014, 15, was some of the stuff they were doing wasn't hitting, but they found their thing with that Wild Little Thing series, and their hazy IPAs and stuff like that, the stout they came out with, and that whole little Wild Little Thing package that really, made their brewery, relevant again when it came to the new craft diet, not your grandpa's, craft beer anymore. So, but it's just crazy how you can drink a pale ale and it's still, it tastes the same as it was 20 years ago. It's crazy.
And it's still good and it's still relevant.
Right. Yeah. Deschutes is the same way, man. Dude, Deschutes is like personally one of my favorite breweries. I love that brewery. They've been around forever. Fat Tire, and I think we were talking too about how imports, back in those, because there was just a lack of craft beer. That was craft beer as well. We kind of when we got out of high school and got to the drinking age, drinking Newcastle and stuff like that. That beer was on fire.
It was.
In the Reno market and northern Nevada and all that stuff and around the country, man. You hardly ever see it anymore at all. But
yeah, that's weird because we drank a ton of Newcastle and it was good.
Yeah,
I love that shit.
Yeah, or our little college day parties with Henry Weinhard's, $10 a case at Costco.
The Henry Weinhard's, I was thinking about that the other day.
Yeah,
they had some funky stuff, man.
Yeah, $10 a case at Costco. We go grab like 15 cases of beer.
Right.
Yeah. So, but I think I'm kind of telling on this a little bit, but anyways, yeah, it's crazy to watch. Just the timeline of everything. And then you get the mid 2000s. You get your Stone Brewing Company starting to. And I'm pretty sure they were around back then. They just were like little brew pubs and stuff in San Diego.
Right.
Stuff like that. Now, San Diego, I think you have Colorado and San Diego. They're kind of the craft beer meccas, right? Like that's where all the big breweries are coming out of. Odell, Left Hand, Oscar Blues, Avery. There's so many breweries out there that are in that state. They're just, that are crushing it right now. And San Diego too, Ballast Point, Belching Beaver. Belching Beaver puts out some great stuff. What else, Green Flash, Alpine, all those beers. Some of that stuff is just really good high-end stuff, and
modern
it's
time.
great. It's crazy to watch just the evolution of stuff like, high IPAs and stuff like that. I think we were talking about this, on our thing with IPAs and stuff, like how they were kind of mellow at first, and then people started trying to get crazy with them, like with the IBUs and stuff like that. IBUs, the International Bitter Unit.
Yeah.
Like most IPAs are around 45, 55, IBUs. You got some knee deep stuff out there that's like, it's not even on the scale anymore. So it's like over 100. So stuff like that.
Well, and that was kind of like the next thing I wanted to talk about was IPAs, because there was a time when, like, dude, you could not get it hoppy enough for me. Like when IPAs first came out, I'm like, dude, I want my fucking face to suck inside of itself from all the bitterness. And like I was on the hoppiest shit.
Right.
And, like it kind of started getting like, I might have stepped away from IPAs for a while, and then when I went to go back, I was like, holy shit, man! I used to drink stuff. But there's. I mean, it's like, I don't know, would you call it a resurgence, or it's like everybody has an IPA, a hazy IPA, an imperial IPA.
Right. And I think, you got, triple IPAs. Like we had one at Seismic when I worked there. It was called the big one, double, or that was a double IPA. But like double IPAs, triple IPAs, those were getting popular around, I'd say 2012, 2000 to up to around 2015, 2016, and then they kind of fell off. And because the hazy train started, right? Like Sierra Nevada comes out with hazy little thing, and some of these other breweries are coming out with these milkshake IPAs and hazy IPAs and stuff like that. That's kind of like what that transitioned to. And I think that the hazy train kind of helped people get back into drinking the more traditional West Coast IPAs, because those beers are so heavy. You get more of a like tropical flavor with those beers, right? They're not your traditional West Coast IPAs. And I think people got the craft drinker got kind of burned out a little bit this last couple of years on hazies, because they just got crazy with them, dude. Like I just said, I think that the West Coast traditional, I could sit down and drink a fresh squeezed, or a Rogue Dead Guy IPA that's new now. That's a traditional Shatter Cone IPA from Seismic. Some or even an oldie but a goodie Lagunitas. Oh, yeah. Those are kind of making a little bit of a comeback. You know what I mean? So
we didn't touch too much on, like, dude, they started brewing beer with lactose. There's all these milkshake fucking things. There's sour. There's like a lot of like fruited sour. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's like, holy shit, where they're going pretty nuts.
So I'm a sour freak, dude. Like Odell Freak sour, the cherry sour they do. What else? There's just so many, especially these little breweries. They can do it. They can do their little kettle sours and stuff like that. And the beer's really good. I mean, it's an easy beer for them to brew, and it's easy to drink, especially for males and females. That gets females into the craft beer, stuff. They'll start trying a little bit different stuff, maybe like a Belgian triple or something that's a little fruitier, a framboise, or stuff like that. Those kind of beers. The lactose ones, like the lactate, they inject into beers. It's pretty crazy what they're doing with it, man. It's just the innovations. It's crazy out there. It's just we live in a really cool time and we've got to watch it progress. Our generation is very fortunate to have gotten to watch just the quality of stuff, and even back in the day when we were doing our thing, we were talking about Henry Weinhard's or whatever. We were more budget conscious now, and I think we talked about this last time, where the consumer now that is my daughter's even coming up on this kind of stuff, is they look more into because there's they have the internet at their fingertips all the time. They can go and look for quality stuff, like they're not just, and it's available to them all the time, with social media, marketing, and all that kind of stuff, with that generation that's 21 to 35 right now, like they have a very different outlook on stuff, man. Like I kind of watched it like during festivals, you know what I mean? Like through the years, most of it was, like older adults, like in their 40s and mid 30s and 40s, not in their 20s. And, over time it went from, these, all these kids showing up to these things, so they're liking, like, and they're educated too about it. They're like, what hops is in Ballast Point or, Sculpin or, or whatever, you know what I'm saying? So
kind of going back to like people looking at it like wine, where you get into it and you want to know what was put into it, where did it come from, how was it made, which is cool, because that's why I'm like into all this shit. It's like the more you like learn about it, then the more you can like appreciate and try new shit, and just be like, oh, dude, I'm starting to feel like, I really like Simcoe hops or Amarillo or whatever it is. That's like my next thing. I'm like, man, I got to really figure out how to identify hops, because they put them on the cans now, and it obviously has such a huge effect on the flavor. So,
right, or it's on that box that, or whatever it comes in, Yeah, and just some of the hybrid stuff they do now, like Shattercone had a hop in it, and I can't remember what it was, but this guy kind of found it growing on the side of his house and started farting around with it, and it made that beer just pop, crazy stuff like that. And to try to get your hands on that stuff is, and being exclusive, with, these really good, hop farmers, is hard to do, man, because everybody wants that, like they're clamoring for this stuff.
Right.
So yeah, like I would go into, Brew Chatter, Reno Homebrewer, stuff like that. And, on a Friday afternoon, and all these guys, they're homebrewers, they're sitting there talking, and it's like, I'm like, dude, like they're way more advanced than I am. I'm more into selling it, and, I know that, the gist of it, but
sure.
Like that's like a whole nother level of beer nerd, dude.
Right.
So yeah, and it's cool to hear them, like, you pick stuff up, like, oh, this was done in this brewing process, and you don't really, you get the, they do stuff differently than, say like a mass produced craft beer, like they're not afraid to try stuff that are, it's out of the mainstream, and that's how some of this stuff comes about, so
sure.
Like we have milkshake sours now,
right.
that is that's injected with lactose,
That's what I'm saying, man. Like there's gonna be really cool shit coming.
And these kids are paying, I think, well, I can't remember, I think it's called like $4.50 North or something like that. Yes. They have like sour, milkshake IPA, and it's like $37 for a 4-pack.
Right.
Like you're like, you paid what for what? Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like going back to just the generational thing is us, where we were more worried about consumption more than quality sometimes, and then we got into doing that stuff, I think, a little more when I started working there and bringing home shit and stuff like that.
What are your thoughts, kind of? I mean, do you see anything that's going to be new or coming next, or have you heard anything, or you have any thoughts on like maybe what? I mean, can it get
like
any
styles
weirder?
And stuff?
Yeah, or like what, like
I just think this is how I view it, and I could be wrong. There's a lot more savvier people out there than me when it comes to just being so more involved with that stuff. But I just think that styles are out there and they've already been done. I just think it's going to get better with technology and stuff like that, and with Buffalo Trace Distillery willing to part with some barrels. You know what I mean? Like that stuff never happened before, dude.
Right.
And it's really cool to see that both worlds are starting to intertwine. It's a really cool thing to see, and I think that people are going to evolve with their palates, and it's kind of like we're seeing like Beverly Hills 90210 jeans out now. My daughter wears them, like I call her Brenda all the time, but like stuff like that, you know what I mean? Like it's just a Pilsner will get, Pilsners will get popular again, or
right.
A Kolsch. I mean, I don't know if you like Kolsch's, but Kolsch style ales are one of my favorite beers too, and you can literally drink that beer with any kind of food that is imaginable.
Right.
And that's where I like to dabble in a lot, is with, because I like to cook. I like, I mean, we're all like, into cooking and barbecuing and smoking meat up and stuff like that, and just pairing our food with something nice to drink. That's where I think that back in the day, it was just like, oh, I'm going to go have a Coors Light with my barbecued chicken. You're seeing more 805 in the backyard, or fresh squeezed, or a Rogue Double, Rogue Bat Squatch IPA, or a Belching Beaver, peanut butter stout with somebody's dessert or something. Elizabeth, we made a couple of things with brownies and vanilla ice cream and Belching Beaver peanut butter stout over top of it.
Nice. Stuff like right.
Messing around with, being foodies, like I think that we've evolved as a culture in general with, especially the younger generations, which is very impressive. I like to see like my daughter, like she loves Asian food and stuff like that. She don't drink alcohol yet, not that I know of, She is my child, so that's probably happened. But just like watching her evolve and being a like a foodie and like going to Midtown and stuff like that. Like like Midtown was, that wasn't a thing back in the day. Like maybe not to us because we grew up in Reno and stuff like that. Maybe it was more prevalent in other parts of the country and stuff like that. But I think it's more in your face now, and I think it's cool to watch. You go and you grab a Ballast Point Sculpin at Aurario in Reno, and it just enhances all the flavors in your bulgogi bowl, or whatever that's in that spicy pork bowl or whatever, like it's cool to watch,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And, if you're a business owner and you know what you're doing, you want those IPAs on there because they're a palate enhancer. The more you drink that beer, the more you eat spicy food, that IPA is enhancing that spiciness in your mouth.
Right.
So you're making more money. And that's what I like to, like consult people and tell them, and educate them on that kind of stuff when I'm out in the market, like, hey, this is why you're doing this, this, and this. Like that. I mean, there's a sushi place up here in Elko, it's a really good place. I was very surprised when I came up here and started working with them and stuff. And we paired, like every single one of their beers is on their menu, suggested with the roll. That's what I like to do, like make people more money and, that kind of stuff. That's where kind of like I've evolved into, and, educating them on cleanliness, glassware, stuff like that. Like I'll go and I can grab a glass and be like, have you guys been getting complaints about, this, this, and this? And I'll show them like this thing has so much detergent in it. You might want to have your filters in your dishwasher, service. You need to be on a 3-month service with this, blah, 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 and that's what I like to do is like help people out, because a lot of restaurant owners are uneducated, when it comes to cleanliness and stuff like that, so.
Right.
Yeah, it's cool to watch, man. It's cool, and I like helping people out, Like I turning a beverage program around is like one of my favorite things to do, or making it right. You know what I mean? Like me and Elizabeth can very rarely go sit at the bar and enjoy a meal because I'll be back there showing someone how to pour a beer right, or something like that, because it drives me crazy. So
let me help you out with this.
No, man, it's a cool industry to be in. I'm glad that you've taken this up. It's fun. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm selling urinal cakes for, Resco, or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, like being a salesman and that stuff, or, it's a very cool business. There's a lot of perks to it. And I encourage people, that, if they want to do that, to try to get into it and go there.
Yeah, no, it's cool. And I think people are starting to notice things like pairing and what hops and like this wine, and obviously the bourbon thing is happening. And so and the craft, the smaller stuff, it's no longer, like you said, just your Coors Light and your for a lot of years all we needed was our fucking Coors Light or whatever. Like we didn't know what we were missing.
Our bullies chicken wings and our Coors Light pepper beers.
Well, man, I appreciate you coming on, dude. Dude, I love talking to you about this stuff. It's really cool to get your insight, and we'll definitely we'll do this again for sure on beer and also on whiskey, dude. We'll just sit down and we'll do whiskey one night too on a Zoom.
Yeah, man, it's cool. I'm getting better educated in it. Well, cool, Zig. Thanks for having me, man. I love talking like this.
Yeah, awesome. Man. Good to have you, and we'll definitely do it again. All right, my friends, welcome back to the show. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with William about all things beer. Going to have some future conversations with him with whiskey and some more beer stuff, so stay tuned for that as well. But my drink of the week tonight is Gewürztraminer. A little known, if you're not really a wine nerd, you may never have heard of Gewürztraminer. Gewürztraminer is an aromatic white wine grape variety. And grows best in cooler climates. Gewürztraminer's homeland lies in the foothills of the Alps. It's a pink grape, just like Pinot Gris or Pinot Grigio, that also really grows well, like I said, in cooler climates. The grape originated in Germany, but over several hundred years, it's completely kind of all around the Alps at this point, including Italy, Hungary, Romania, Croatia, France, and Slovenia. Tonight, I have the Lucien Albrecht tradition from Alsace, France. Gewürztraminer from France, right there on the border of Germany, Alsace. Alsace is a historical region in northern France on the Rhine River plain, bordering Germany and Switzerland. It has alternated between German and French control over the centuries and reflects a mix of those cultures. In fact, I think most people in Alsace speak French and German, which I find to be very, very interesting. This Albrecht Gewürztraminer, it is from the Total Wine website. It describes it as bursting with aromas of rose petal, tropical fruits, and exotic lychee, yet dry and lush on the palate. Gewürztraminer is very lush, described as like drinking tea with honey in it as far as the viscosity of it. Founded in 1425, the Albrecht family winery has handcrafted this opulent, spicy white for your enjoyment with Asian cuisine, sausage, and turkey. This bottle, $24.99 at Total Wine. The reason that I love Gewürztraminer, it can be a little bit sweeter or off dry. There are some drier, less sweet offerings as well. But when I really first started getting into wine, I got a Be Lovely Gewürztraminer, a little lower price point wine from Washington, Gewürztraminer from Washington State. And they all want you to pair it with a spicy, sweet Asian cuisine. And so I got spicy, sweet Asian cuisine. I can't remember quite what it was, but I paired it with this Be Lovely Gewürztraminer, and it was like, I'm like, this is what they're talking about with pairing. It made the food taste better. It made the wine taste better. I was so excited because that was truly the first really good pairing that I did with wine that just really blew my mind and made everything better. So I'm going to pair this up. I'm not going to open it tonight. I'm going to pair this up over the weekend. I'm probably going to get some yellow curry from one of my favorite Thai spots here in Las Vegas, and I'm going to pair up this Gewürztraminer. So if you haven't tried it, get you some Gewürztraminer, get you some spicy, sweet Asian cuisine, pair it up, and try out Gewürztraminer. All right, my friends, for my last segment, we're going to go pairs with, and we're going to continue to go on the music side of pairing with the Gorillaz. The Gorillaz, the UK band Gorillaz dropped a new album here just last week. The album is called Cracker Island. It is their 8th studio album. This thing's crazy. It features guest appearances from Thundercat, Stevie Nicks, yes, the Stevie Nicks, Tame Impala, Bad Bunny, Beck, Del the Funky Homo Sapien, De La Soul, and includes even a remix by Dom Dalla and a host of other artists on there as well. It's groovy, it's funky, it's kind of eclectic, it will surprise you. It's got all kinds of stuff there, some really cool music from the Gorillaz. So check that album out. Also, guys, I wanted to add, as we're getting close to the end of the season, I want everybody to know that they can always find this episode and all past episodes of Boozin' on a Budget, as well as all the other Titan TV creators. You can go to the Titan Media Collective YouTube page, click on our playlist. Each Titan TV creator has their own playlist. You can find all past Boozin' Budget episodes there, so you can go back through, look at your favorite stuff again, find the ones that you may have missed, grab yourself a drink, listen to some music, go check out each creator's personal playlist at Titan Media Collective on YouTube. And I will see you next time right here on Boozin' on a Budget.